Hello, my friend, let's get something straight right now. People will only treat you the way you allow them to. That's not just some motivational fluff. That's real. If you're constantly feeling disrespected, overlooked, dismissed, it's not because the world is out to get you. It's because somewhere along the line, you taught it that it was okay. Maybe not on purpose. Maybe out of fear, out of habit, out of trying to be liked, accepted, approved. But the truth is this: if you don't set the standard, if you don't demand respect with your actions, with your energy, with your presence, no one's going to hand it to you. Respect doesn't come from shouting louder or acting tougher. It comes from alignment, from how consistent you are, from how clearly you define your boundaries, from how unapologetically you show up as the version of yourself that refuses to shrink for anyone. You don't need to scream to be powerful. You don't need to beg to be seen. You just need to decide, once and for all, that you're done settling for crumbs in rooms you don't even belong in. That you're done explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it. That from this point forward, your peace, your energy, your time, and your standards are not up for negotiation. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. It's about reclaiming your voice, your presence, your power, not from anyone else, but from yourself. From the version of you that played small, that stayed quiet, that kept the peace at your own expense. That's over now. You want to stop being disrespected, then stop disrespecting yourself. Because the moment you decide to raise the bar on how you show up is the moment everything and everyone around you will have no choice but to follow or fall off. Either way, you win. Stop apologizing for protecting your peace. Stop feeling guilty for saying no. If you want people to stop disrespecting you, it starts with boundaries, and not the soft, maybe, sometimes kind. I'm talking real, unapologetic boundaries, ones that don't require long explanations, ones that don't come with a nervous laugh, ones that don't need approval from the people who have been stepping on you for years. You teach people how to treat you. If you're always available, always accommodating, always adjusting yourself to fit someone else's comfort, guess what? You're showing them exactly how little they need to consider you. Respect isn't given out like coupons. It's earned through consistency. It's earned when you draw a line and stick to it, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when someone tries to test it. And make no mistake, they will test it. That friend who only calls when they need something, test. That boss who piles on more work because you always get it done without complaining, test. That partner who dismisses your feelings, makes jokes at your expense, and says you're being too sensitive, big test. And the moment you let it slide, boom, you've just handed them the green light to keep going. Not because they're evil, not because they don't care, but because that's how people operate. Human nature reads tolerance as permission, so you want respect. Then set boundaries that are rooted in self-respect and hold them not once, not until it gets awkward, not until someone gives you attitude. You hold them every time. You want to know how to lose respect fast. Set a boundary, then cave the minute someone pushes back. People watch how serious you are. They're waiting to see if you mean what you say, if your no is really a maybe. If your limb, it is just a line in the sand that can be brushed away with a little pressure. Look, you don't owe anyone comfort. The cost of your own clarity. Stop being so damn afraid to make someone uncomfortable by standing your ground. Discomfort is where change begins. You want to change how people treat you. Then get real comfortable being uncomfortable. Speak the hard truths. Say the things you've been swallowing. It with calm, do it with strength, but do it. Or you will stay trapped in the same patterns, with the same people, wondering why your needs never seem to matter. And don't expect applause. Don't expect a thank you. People who have benefited from your lack of boundaries are not going to celebrate your self-respect. They're going to resist it. Some might even leave. Good, let them. The ones who only stay when you're small aren't your people. The ones who respect your no, who take a step back when you say, that doesn't work for me, those are the ones you build with. But you'll never find that if you keep playing the doormat in everyone else's drama. Boundaries are not about control. They're about clarity. They tell the world, this is what I will accept. This is how I expect to be treated. This is the standard. And when you consistently uphold that, you stop having to explain yourself so much. Your energy says it for you. People feel it, and over time they adjust or they leave. Either way, your life gets cleaner, simpler, stronger, but don't get it twisted. This is work. Emotional, weightlifting, and some days it'll feel heavy. You'll want to drop it. You'll wonder if it's worth the friction. It is. Every damn time. Because what's the alternative? A life filled with quiet resentment, stretched thin trying to please people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. That's not noble. That's self-abandonment. That's slow self-destruction. The truth is, most people who get walked on aren't weak. They're just too nice, too forgiving, too afraid of being seen as difficult. But being respected sometimes means being misunderstood. It means people will call you selfish, cold, rude. Let them. You are not here to manage anyone's opinion of you. You are here to live your truth, and your truth needs space to breathe. Boundaries give it that space. So if you're tired of feeling invisible, if you're sick of being treated like an afterthought, you don't need to scream. You don't need to fight. You just need to decide right now that your peace matters more than their approval, that your time, your energy, your self-worth is not negotiable. Then act like it. Every single day. Respect isn't about demanding attention, raising your voice, or throwing your weight around. It's about what you tolerate consistently. People don't respect words. They respect patterns. You could give the greatest speech in the world about how you deserve to be respected. But if your actions tell a different story every day, no one is listening. You want to be taken seriously. Then show up like someone who takes themselves seriously. Not once, not occasionally, but over and over again until the people around you get the message without you having to say a single word. Consistency is power. It tells people you mean what you say. It removes confusion. It sets the tone. If one day you call out bad behavior, but the next day you laugh it off, you've just reset the standard. And not in your favor. People don't respect inconsistency. They see it as weakness, and weakness to the wrong people is an open invitation to walk all over you. The hard truth is, if you want someone to stop testing your limits, then you have to stop moving the line every time they do. That's where most people get it wrong. They think respect is a feeling, something you're either given or not. But it's not. It's a system, a structure, and it's built on repetition. You train people by showing them what is and isn't acceptable, not just once when you're fired up and ready to fight, but in the quiet moments when it would be easier to let something slide. That's the difference. That's where respect lives. In the follow-through. Think about the people you respect most. Not the ones who scared you, not the ones who controlled you, but the ones who had your attention, the ones you didn't want to disappoint. Why? Because they were consistent. They said what they meant, and they meant what they said. You knew where you stood with them. That's not just admirable. It's magnetic. There's something powerful about a person who moves the same way whether the room is watching or not. No mask, no act, just real, grounded confidence in who they are. But consistency doesn't come easy. It takes discipline. It takes self-awareness. It takes a willingness to check yourself when you start slipping back into old habits, when you start bending to keep the peace, when you start shrinking because it feels safer than standing tall. Every time you break your own standard, you teach people that it wasn't real to begin with, and they will remember that. So you have to stay locked in, not perfect, not robotic, but intentional, present, honest, and yes, it'll cost you. You'll lose people. People who only stuck around because your inconsistency worked in their favor, because you were easy to manipulate, because they liked you better when you didn't make them uncomfortable. But that's not a loss. That's clarity. That's proof your consistency is doing its job. Because the people who belong in your life won't run when you start showing up with standards. They'll meet you there, or at the very least, they'll learn to respect the new rhythm. And here's the kicker. Consistency starts with how you treat yourself. If you're sloppy with your time, your health, your boundaries, your goals, don't expect the world to treat those things with care. You set the tone. You decide what kind of energy walks through your door and stays. And if you keep showing up for yourself only when it's convenient, don't be shocked when others treat you the same way. It's not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about being aligned. When your words, your actions, and your values are in sync, you don't have to chase respect. It finds you, because people trust what's steady. They respect what's unwavering. Even if they don't like it, they learn to deal with it. That's where your power is. Not in being the loudest, not in proving yourself, but in being solid, predictable in the best way, reliable in your standards, clear in your intentions. Consistency is what separates those who are respected from those who are tolerated. It's not exciting, it's not dramatic, but it's effective, and it works every single time. You just have to decide what kind of person you want to be, and then be that person, especially when it's hard, especially when no one's clapping for you, especially when staying consistent feels like the loneliest road you could take. Silence is not weakness, it's not surrender, it's not an admission of guilt, and it sure as hell isn't permission. In fact, when used intentionally, silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. But the problem is, most people don't know how to sit in silence without scrambling to fill the space. They rush to explain, to defend, to prove, to justify. And every time they do, they hand their power over to someone who hasn't earned it. You don't need to react to everything. You don't owe your energy to every slight, every opinion, every passive-aggressive comment tossed your way. Not everything deserves a response. Not everyone is worth the breath it takes to explain yourself. Your silence, when used from a place of strength, can speak louder than any outburst ever could. People will test you. They'll provoke you to see if they can still get a rise out of you, because the second you react, they've won. They know they still have access to your emotions. They know they can shake you. But when you choose not to engage, when you look them dead in the eye and say nothing, it disrupts the game. It breaks the pattern. It sends a message, you don't control me. That kind of silence hits different. It's not passive, it's deliberate, and it rattles people who thrive on conflict, on chaos, on dragging you into their storm so they can avoid sitting in their own discomfort. There is a huge difference between shutting down and choosing silence. Shutting down is fear. Choosing silence is control. It's knowing that just because someone throws bait doesn't mean you have to bite. Just because they're loud doesn't mean they're right. Just because they're angry doesn't mean you have to match their energy. Silence is not giving up, it's leveling up. It's choosing your battles with precision. It's protecting your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. Not everyone deserves front row access to your reactions. Some people only show up to feed off your chaos. Don't give them that meal. The world trains you to respond. Someone insults you, you fire back. Someone doubts you, you prove them wrong. Someone questions your worth, you bend over backward to show them you're good enough. But here's the truth. The second you start chasing validation, you're already losing. You don't need to prove anything to people who have no place in your future. Your value isn't up for debate. You don't need to join every argument you're invited to. The loudest one in the room isn't the strongest. They're usually the most insecure. The real strength is in knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet, when to walk away, when to disengage without guilt. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your peace to not let someone else hijack it. It means you've stopped allowing temporary people to cause permanent damage. That's maturity, that's growth. And sometimes it's going to be misinterpreted. People will say you're cold, that you don't care, that you're distant. Let them talk. They're not owed an explanation. You don't have to bleed for people to believe you're hurt. You don't have to perform pain for it to be valid. You don't have to narrate your healing in real time. Sometimes the strongest move is to say nothing and keep moving. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is immediate, emotional, impulsive. Response is measured, grounded, strategic. Silence gives you space to respond instead of react. It creates room between the trigger and the choice. And in that space, you take back control. You remind yourself that you are not your emotions, that you can feel them without acting on them, that you don't need to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you, that your dignity doesn't require constant defense. People who respect you will never force you to perform your worth. They'll feel it even in your silence, especially in your silence. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of intent, and the ones who are paying attention will hear everything you're not saying. The tone of your silence says, I don't need to prove a thing to you. It says, your opinion is noted and irrelevant. It says, I'm not wasting energy where it won't be valued. And once you realize that not reacting doesn't make you weak, but dangerous in the best way, everything changes. Walking away is not weakness, it's power. It's recognizing that staying in places, situations, or relationships that shrink you is not noble. It's self-neglect. You're not obligated to tolerate what makes you feel small. You're not required to stay where your worth is a debate. You don't have to keep proving yourself to people who refuse to see you. When something no longer respects your presence, your absence is the answer. And yes, walking away is hard. It feels uncomfortable. It triggers guilt. It makes you question yourself. But the truth is, you already know when something is wrong. You feel it. You see the signs. The problem isn't your intuition. It's your attachment to potential. You keep hoping it'll change. You keep making excuses. You keep convincing yourself to hang on just a little longer. Even when it costs you peace, energy, and identity, the longer you stay where you don't belong, the harder it becomes to remember who you are. You start to second guess your own value. You water yourself down to avoid conflict. You minimize your needs to keep the peace. You tolerate things that used to break your heart because now they've just become normal. That's not growth, that's survival, and surviving isn't the same as living. You weren't made to be tolerated. You were made to be respected. If someone or something makes you feel like you're asking for too much just because you want consistency, honesty, or effort, you're not asking too much. You're just asking the wrong person. Walking away is not quitting, it's choosing. Choosing yourself over the pattern that's been draining you. Choosing your peace over chaos that's disguised as love or loyalty. Choosing to stop begging for crumbs from tables you were never meant to sit at. When you walk away, you send a message. I value myself too much to stay where I'm not valued, and sometimes that message is not for them. It's for you. A reminder that you've outgrown what you used to settle for. A reminder that you're allowed to evolve. A reminder that the old version of you who tolerated less than they deserved doesn't get to run the show anymore. The hardest part about walking away isn't the leaving. It's the aftermath, the silence, the doubt, the urge to go back because at least the chaos was familiar. But familiar doesn't mean healthy. Familiar doesn't mean aligned. Familiar just means you've gotten used to discomfort, and that's not a reason to stay. Growth always feels lonely at first. It always feels like loss. But what you're losing isn't the person or situation. It's the illusion you built around it, the idea of what it could have been. And once you stop romanticizing the potential and start seeing the reality, leaving becomes not just possible, but necessary. You're allowed to outgrow people who stayed the same. You're allowed to let go of spaces that no longer reflect who you are. And you don't need a dramatic reason. You don't need betrayal or abuse or a big blow-up. Sometimes it's just a quiet realization that this isn't it anymore, that you've changed, that your standards have risen, that your tolerance for nonsense has dropped. And that's more than enough. You don't owe anyone an explanation for evolving. You don't have to destroy something to justify leaving it behind. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for them and for you is walk away with grace and never look back. You've got one life, one shot. And if you spend it constantly shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for you, you'll never know what it feels like to stand in your full power. Walking away is how you make room for better. People who get it, for situations that feel aligned, for opportunities that reflect your value instead of testing it. But none of that can reach you if you're still clinging to what's hurting you just because it's what you know. Your energy is currency. Spend it wisely. Don't invest it where there's no return. If someone keeps showing you that they don't care, believe them. If a situation keeps making you question your worth, exit it. You are not meant to constantly convince anyone of your value. The right people, the right environments. They won't make you fight to be seen. They'll see right away. But first, you have to walk away from what's been blocking your view of that reality. And the moment you do, everything changes. Not because the world shifts, but because you finally do. How you treat yourself sets the entire tone for how the world treats you. You can talk all day about respect, but if your habits, your words, your choices don't reflect that same respect inward, people are going to mirror the energy you give yourself. If you constantly criticize yourself, put yourself last, break your own promises, and tolerate your own chaos, you're sending a loud message. This is the standard, and people will meet you at that level, not higher, not better. They're watching how you move with yourself. If you ignore your needs, abandon your boundaries, and call it humility, you're not being humble. You're being unavailable to your own worth. You can't demand that others speak to you with kindness if your inner voice is tearing you apart every day. You can't expect someone to take your time seriously when you're constantly wasting it on things that drain you. You can't keep begging people to prioritize you when you don't even show up for yourself with consistency. The truth hurts, but it's simple. Your relationship with yourself sets the precedent. It's not about being perfect. It's not about always having it together. It's about showing people that you honor who you are, that you take care of your mental, emotional, and physical space like it matters, because it does. People notice when someone respects themselves. It shows up in your posture, your tone, your presence. You don't have to say a word. It's in how you walk into a room. It's in how you say no without apologizing. It's in how you keep your word to yourself even when no one else is watching. That kind of energy is magnetic. It tells people, I've got standards and I live by them. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, not because you're trying to be better than anyone, but because you've done the work to know what you deserve, and you act accordingly. The flip side is also true. If you're constantly in relationships or environments where you're disrespected, overlooked, or used, there's a good chance you're playing a role in that dynamic, not intentionally, not because you deserve it, but because somewhere along the way, you taught people that it was okay to treat you that way. Maybe it was through silence. Maybe it was through overgiving. Maybe it was through shrinking yourself to keep the peace. Whatever it was, it started with how you treated you. The good news, you can rewrite that script, but it starts with you, not them, not getting revenge, not making someone regret how they treated you. It starts with deciding that you're no longer available for anything that doesn't reflect the level of respect you give yourself. That means changing how you talk to yourself when you make a mistake. It means setting boundaries around your time, your energy, your peace. It means not chasing people who leave you confused, and not explaining your worth to people who were never meant to understand it. It means looking in the mirror and deciding daily that you're someone worth showing up for, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when your old patterns are screaming at you to just fall back into what's familiar. Self-respect is not a mood, it's a lifestyle. It shows up in the smallest choices, getting enough rest instead of burning out to prove your worth, saying no to things that don't align, even when saying yes would be easier, walking away from drama even when you have the perfect comeback ready. These little moments stack up, they build your identity, and eventually they become so strong that anyone who tries to bring less than that into your life gets weeded out automatically. Not through confrontation, through clarity, through consistency. This isn't about being selfish. This is about being responsible for your energy, for your space, for your life, because no one's coming to rescue you from your own self-abandonment. You have to decide that the cycle ends with you, that you will not teach your kids, your friends, or anyone else around you that respect is something you earn only from others. It starts at home, in your own mind, in your own habits, in your own choices. You want to raise the bar, then be the first to meet it. Show people how it's done, not by preaching it, but by living it, every day, especially when no one is watching, especially when no one is clapping, especially when it would be easier to go back to old patterns that felt safe but kept you small.